when I did a program with the Jesus Sprinkle. If you all are not ready for realness, truthfulness, then you invited the wrong person. I can't help you to help yourselves if I'm being dishonest, not truthful, and not genuine. And in being that, that means that I have to tell my business. That means that I can't go on how I was raised, that will go on in my household, stay in my household, but I have to tell my business. So while I'm telling my business, I want to give you guys permission that you all can definitely, hold on one second.
For those of you that are just coming in, welcome to our Titus 2 Tea Time. This is a space where we have women who are willing to meet, to accept God's call for older women to teach the younger women. And so today we have Sister Aretha Cleveland, who is our featured Titus 2 sister, who is sharing and pouring into us. All right, Sister Cleveland, are you ready to continue?
I am ready. And that what you saw was a interruption of what happens in our real lives. You may think that everything is planned out to be how it should be, but you never know what you're going to get. I quoted the other day in joking with somebody when Forrest Gump made that statement, life is like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're going to get. That's a true statement in my life. I can't speak for anybody else, but that is truly a true statement in my life. I never know what I'm going to get. I may go to sleep at night happy and everything just worked out for the day, and I may wake up in the middle of the night to a tornado that I did not see coming. But what I love that I am now in my life, that even when I wake up to that tornado, I have begun to realize that God is there no matter what I get. I did not always know that. I've gone into being frustrated, overwhelmed, agitated, aggravated, ready to pull my hair out, ready to choke somebody, ready to choke myself. But I am so grateful that over the years that I stopped playing with God and start desiring to love him, to know him, to have an intimate relationship with him. I cannot stress enough, ladies, that that is the way to go. I tried every kind of way. And I can remember laying on my floor just crying and crying and crying. And then it was so clear, girl, you tried everything but God consistently. You played with him all your life. You did what you were taught to do. You went to worship service. You showed up. You ain't read no Bible. Stop pretending like you had. You left out of worship service and you put that Bible in the back seat of your car. And that's where that Bible stayed until you went to Wednesday night service and you got it out. And I'm talking about in the back window, not on the seat, because the children had to sit back there. I'm talking about in the back window of my car with my notebook where I took notes. That's where that Bible stayed until time for next service. And then after I got through that, it went back there again. So I want to start off about self first before I go into a relationship, before I go into children and anything else. I want to start off with how I grew up as a happy child, not knowing my self worth as an older child. I grew up as a happy child of outside playing in the dirt, no shoes on, drinking out of the water hose, playing in red light, green light, playing softball, stop sign being our base. I grew up with picking blueberries off the vine and pulling plums off the tree. That's how I grew up. I didn't grow in the house with a video game and all that. I had everything but that. But I tell you, as I look back over life, I am so grateful that that's how I grew up because that began the foundation in me to become me. But then as life moved on, I also grew up in following the things that was done in generations. I grew up seeing my uncles with their girlfriends. I grew up seeing my some family members being married and cheating on their spouse. And these are the things that I saw, from day to day, every day. It wasn't a secret. It wasn't something that was hidden, but these are things that were deposited into me daily. And as they were deposited into me daily, these were the things that later in life that I would become. These were the things that would be what my value was, because I was never talked to about my value. I was never talked to about being more than enough. I was just talked to about, what you do and what you don't do, and how you do and what you shouldn't do. And it was very vague. It was not like these were things that I was told to, hey, you make sure you don't do this, you make sure you don't do that, and why. It was, you just don't do it. So as I move fast forward and I think about me being the woman that I am now, I was that young teenager to where my mom worked.
We can see you now, but you went on to mute.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes,
All
perfect.
right. We got it up and running. So I went into at 15 being pregnant, still not knowing anything about, value and need. And what I did value is the fact that at 15 and being pregnant and trying to get Medicaid, I was denied because my mom made too much. So I did the next thing, and let's get a job at Burger King. And I got a job at Burger King, and I worked every 2 weeks, and I got paid, and I would take that money to the hospital because the hospital had made it known that they would not give birth to my son, which I don't know how I look at it now. Maybe it was a tactic to scare me at 15, but they would not give birth to my son if I didn't have a certain amount of money paid because I didn't have insurance. So all in all, I got this job at Burger King. And back then, I didn't know anything about baby showers or anything. There was no Walmart. It was Big K. And we went to Big K and we put up a layaway. And on that layaway, I had to put up diapers and everything. Excuse me, you guys, I'm gonna go off video again for a moment. I had to put up diapers, and you put up T-shirts. You didn't do all those outfits and those matching shoes, all that stuff that they have now. You didn't do that. You did what was the necessity of the baby and what was the need of the baby, and you move forward with that. And you didn't get it off the layaway until after the baby was born, and you knew that you had a healthy baby that you were bringing home. At that time, you still stayed in the hospital about 7 days, and then you were discharged, and you didn't come out. You didn't, like now the children, the people, or the women that are having babies now. They came out of the hospital, they're discharged the next day. They came out of the hospital and they would be on the park and anywhere else. You didn't do that. You stayed home until a certain time. You went to the doctor's appointment, you came back home. That made me who I am now. It taught me responsibility. I think about the fact being 16, pregnant, having a baby, working at Burger King, and paying my entire hospital bill. Did I not know later in life that that would make me the person that I am to take own up into my responsibility? Was I happy that I was 15 and pregnant? No, but I wouldn't give that. I think he's 42. I think that's how old he is now. Don't quote me, but I think he's 41 or 42. He'll be 42 probably in December. That's what happens when you're older. Some people try to pretend like they remember everything. I don't. From day to day, I don't know what you're going to get. I don't know what part of my memory. Sometimes my memory leaves me and stay gone for a few days. Sometimes it comes back faster than that. But it normally comes back. So far, it hadn't left me permanently yet. But what I want to share with you guys is today is different. You can talk to your daughters, your nieces, you can talk to your young men, you can talk to them about value. And that's what I do today. You can talk about value. You can tell a young lady or young man who's talking about moving in together to try. I've done that. I've checked, I've moved in, I've moved guys in the household with me and my 4 children, and I didn't know my value. I was part of the generation of what I saw all my life was shacking. I when I hear somebody talking about that now, I say, well, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to devalue yourself? And I tell it to the young men too. Why would you want to devalue yourself and devalue the young lady? To me, that doesn't make any sense to devalue yourself. But if you don't know anything about value, you don't know anything about you devaluing yourself. So if you're talking to somebody and he's telling you that he wants to get with you, and even if it's you who's saying it, think about it. You're starting off on the wrong foot. You're starting off in the negative instead of the positive. It's already issues that are going to come about with what you need to do. So don't start off with issues. I know that that's what we see the world do, and we think it's okay. I was thinking about 3 weeks ago, I was walking on the beach, and I was thinking how much the world has legalized what God said is wrong. And because they have legalized it, we think it's okay. That means that we really don't know what God says. How can we speak to our issues and how can we speak to what's going on in our lives based on what God says if we're moving full force with what the world says? They're legalized, same-sex marriages. I think in some states they're legalized smoking of marijuana. There's so many things that in the Word of God is wrong that the world has legalized, and we think it's right. Even as Christians, we think it's right. And it's one thing I want to stop and say. Don't tell somebody I thought you was a Christian because they make a mistake or they do something wrong. Because in God's word, he talks about what we need to do to become saved. But he also talks about how we will fall short of the glory of God. So if we wasn't I don't think he would have given us what we needed to do to be saved, saying, well, if they mess up, now they're not a Christian. I may be a fallen Christian, but guess what? I'm still a Christian. If I've given birth to a child, even if I put the child up for adoption or whatever, I'm still a mother because I birthed a child. Now, how I'm doing with the child may not be what's supposed to be or may be how I decided to do. But it doesn't take away the fact I'm a mother. So don't stop judging people and saying, oh, is she supposed to be a Christian? First of all, stop all this gossiping. We do too much of it, and we think it's innocent. If you're not talking directly to the person that you're talking about, you're gossiping. No, I don't care which way you put it, you're gossiping. I could be talking to my daughter-in-law, and she could bring up my son. Or I could be talking to my son, and he could bring up my daughter-in-law, and I stopped them right in their tracks. I don't want to hear that. They're not on the line. They're not here to put in their input, so let's not do that. So let's learn to value ourselves. We're more than enough. God strategically made us. Some of us put ourselves down. We don't like that our hair is short. We don't like our hair is long. We don't like what our size is. I was less than 100 pounds for years. My concern was never about how small I was because I thought then and I think now, I know that I'm more than enough. My concern was I could not give blood to help save lives because I was not 100 pounds. That was my thought. And so when I was able to get over 100 pounds, that was the first thing I went and I donated my blood. So if you're going to have some thoughts of substance. But God made each and every one of us. So what? Oh, I got long hair, but I don't care anything about that long hair. I've had short hair. I don't care anything about that short hair. I just want to make sure that my hair was combed. And some days, if you catch me right, you may see me with 5 plaits on my head. I combed it, I plaited it up. I'm cute no matter how my hair looks. It's not about my hair. It's not about what I wear. It's about what's on the inside of me that shines on the outside of me. And that's the first thing I wanted to address, ladies. I see so many of us, we don't value ourselves. We let a old relationship define us. You know, he's gone out and he's cheated. I must be lacking in this. You all right? You're all right. Or you may be the one that went out and cheated. You're all right. You just got to get to the who, the why, the when. What put you in that position? Why? What put Eve in the position of, excuse me, y'all. What put Eve in a position to where she listened to Satan? What put her in that position? So we have to ask ourselves, what put us in that position? Why did we get put in a position that we cheated? I used to say, man, when I grow up and I get a husband, I'll never cheat. I can't believe that she's cheating, he's cheating. They don't value their spouse. Well, I became an adult, and that's not necessarily true. Everything that you do is not a setup that, you know what, on August the 20th, I'm going to cheat. No. Sometimes things you can do can be based on what you've gone through. And you may not have that person in your life who can encourage you and let you know that it's okay. Sometimes they can catch you before you make a mistake. Sometimes they can't. But the great part about it is if they can catch you and encourage you and keep you from going back there, to me, that's what's important. So first and foremost, I don't know if you guys, I don't know the format, you want to ask questions, but the first thing I want to address and I want to say, based on my own life, value yourself. You're more than enough. So, Kim, from that point, do y'all do questions? What do you want to do, or do I just continue to move forward? I've just given you a fourth of tea, coffee, juice, whatever you drink, water, to go in your cup. You can chill it with ice. You can drink it room temperature like I do, but as long as you drink it, it's all right with me.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, awesome. So the first thing that you said is value yourself. You are more than enough. That is so, so powerful. Sister Cleveland, please feel free to continue going as we have many women who are here ready for you to fill our cups in regards to that preparing for marriage and some of the things that you've gone through around the issues of preparing for marriage, getting married. Just pour out your wisdom as you desire.
Okay, ladies. So now that you know to value yourself, and now that you've drank that tea, that coffee, that milk, that orange juice, that water, you've digested it, let's talk about preparing for marriage. Preparing for marriage is preparing yourself. Not preparing that man, but preparing yourself. When we were growing up, you read books like Cinderella, and so many of you guys may watch, I think it's Lifetime, you may watch, I like Hallmark, and you see this happily ever after. All you see is the beginning, you see a little rough patch, and then you see the happy ever after. You don't see the day-to-day stuff that really happens. So in preparing for marriage, you have to prepare yourself to be able to know. And the thing about it is, if you can't deal with things that are outside of what you do, stay single. You have to realize in marriage, you are marrying a whole nother individual that was raised in a whole different way than you are. I don't care how much when y'all met, y'all was googly eyes, and he took you downtown and he bought you your favorite flower, and you went back to your girlfriend, Kim, you won't believe. He bought me lilies. How did he know? Because we weren't out mouth so much. That's how he knew. That's how he knew that lilies was your favorite flower, daisies or roses. So my thing is stop getting an emotional connection with others before you get an intellectual connection. Stop going to the movies and holding hands and walking downtown in your dating stages, but start going to Starbucks or somewhere that you can talk and drive your own car. You put yourself in a position of emotional connection, and then you get upset because I'm saving myself. I've done that, but I'm celibate, and I can't believe he made a pass at me. Well, first you had on perfume, which is a stimulant. Then you had on something tight and something sexy. And then every time you laugh, you threw your hand on his chest. You made all of this physical, emotional connection. And then it went into maybe he reached that sexual moment before you did. And then how dare you say, how dare he made a pass at you or he wanted to go here when you gave him all of the signs and everything to pull him into that position. Get in your own cars, go out on dates, but label your dates intellectual dates. But make sure you're prepared. If you still got a lot of baggage going on inside of you, you need to work on that first before you're talking about getting in a relationship, period. You need to work on that. You need to know that in order for you to come to a relationship and be in a position that is okay with you with another person, you have to be okay with you first. You can't be been through all these relationships with all these different people, and you done went through this and this and this, and you haven't forgiven. You still are going through being resentful. You still, every time somebody will listen, you still talking about this. Get rid of the baggage. But how do you get rid of the baggage? I got what's called let me have it here. You can get you just a little notebook or something and start writing down things that you've gone through in your life. Start with the things that have hurt you and then dissect them and see what part that you played in it. Because trust me, as much as I would like to blame other people for my hurts and pains, I played a part in it. Whether it's ignoring the red flags, whether it was being the initiator of it, but I played a part. And once I started writing things down, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. I didn't know that I did this, or I didn't know that I did that. You have to write down things and dissect them. Then you pray over them. Say, God, you know what? I want you to remove this from the root. I don't even want the root left inside of me. You guys, my oldest son, dad, took me to court and got custody of him when he was 5. All these years, I thought I was over that. And one day I was talking to my son, and he was telling me that he was thinking about divorcing and taking custody of his boys. And my head started spinning around like the exorcist. I hadn't gotten over what I went through. And I snapped. And when I finished with him, he ain't said that anymore. Now I had to go back to address why he felt that way later. But I couldn't address it because I hadn't got rid of the baggage of what I had went through with him when he was 5. And he was in his 30s when he shared this. I guess because out of sight, out of mind, I don't know why I thought I had got to do it, but I had. Get rid of the baggage and be honest with yourself. When I got in this marriage with Mr. Cleveland, the first time I went in the kitchen to get my scissors to use them, because I'm a person of habit, I put my scissors in the top drawer in the kitchen, and I went to get the scissors out, and they was not there. And I asked him, I said, did you have the scissors? And he said, yes. I said, do you know what you did with them? He said, no. I said, why didn't you put them back in the top drawer they was? Well, I just didn't. Well, these are kind of things that had me already thinking, you know what? I think I ain't going to be able to make it in this marriage. I'm going to have to divorce him. I can't do this. I cannot do this. I should have married myself. If I wanted what I do to go along every day in the entire relationship, I should just marry myself, stay single. Because I can't expect that somebody else do what I do. You all say, well, that's being on the same page. I don't care how much you think you're on the same page. Every person is different. If you got children, look at them. Every one of them is different. If you got siblings, look at you guys. Every one of you all are different. So why do you think your mate would be different? So I would say that in preparing for marriage, be honest with yourself. Ask yourself these questions. I'm going to throw out some of the things that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. If you go in the bathroom and the toilet is not flushed, is that going to be a deal breaker for you? Because if it is, trust me, some days that's what's going to happen. If you walk in the bedroom, the kitchen, or wherever there are cabinets and drawers and they are left open, is that a deal breaker for you? Because if it is, you're going to have to work with yourself on it before you get married. If you go in your laundry room or whatever, and you keep laundry and you see clothes are on the floor beside the bed, and they're not always in the basket, ask yourself, is that a deal breaker? Because if it is, you might as well not get married. Men, and some men may not be like this. I can only describe with you the things that I deal with.
Men think different from us. My husband tells me all the time, I'm not a multitasker like you. I can only do one thing at a time. And so in receiving that, I had to realize just because you do 20 things at one time does not mean that next person is going to do 20 things. And then be honest with yourself and say, how set are you in your ways? You can't go into no relationship or no marriage being set in your way. Well, this is how I always been. Well, you are always going to be single or you are always going to be getting divorced because you can't keep on holding on to how you always been. And another thing that I found out in us ladies, because it's in me, stop talking about, well, I feel it, so I said it. God's word talks about us being loving and kind. I had to get there because if it came up, it came out. And my children would tell me, my husband would say, you don't have to say everything that come up. Yes, I do. I felt it. I had to change that. There was no way I could serve God in the capacity that he wanted me to serve him and be who he wanted me to be if I was going to continue to be abrupt. And just like my husband tells me all the time, he said, you cut from a different cloth than I am. You are so direct. And I am. I'm very direct. But I had to learn how to say things, ladies. All of this comes within preparing. I didn't prepare myself for any of these things. I just jumped into marriage. Now, let me share something with you. If you don't change these things, if you don't pay attention to these things, you don't write these things down, you're going to be like I was. My marriage to Patrick is my 5th marriage. Oh, you just raised your voice at me? Let me pack up my stuff. Let me get my kids. I'm gone. Oh, you still think you can hang out in the club? Oh, let me pack up. Get my kids. I'm gone. Whatever it was, if it got to the point where it agitated me too much and I thought it was going to go left, they didn't have to leave. I packed up and I left. I remember walking down the aisle. This is my first wedding, but this was my 5th marriage. I had never had a wedding before. My baby son said to me, he said, now, Mama, this is enough right here. My grandmother used to tell me before she passed, you have to learn how to deal with things. And my thing is I didn't know how to deal with things. My mother was in an abusive marriage, abusive relationship. And with her being in that abusive marriage relationship, I didn't think that as an adult it affected me, but it did. It put me at 0 tolerance with foolishness. You couldn't talk to me outside of an indoor voice. We couldn't do crazy stuff. If you did crazy stuff, I was like the runaway bride, but I was the runaway wife. Out, packed up. I don't want nothing but my clothes, my vehicle, and my children. We out. So my children got a chance to be living through 5 different fathers. Their original father and 4 stepfathers. Because I didn't prepare myself. Nobody told me that I was going to walk in the bathroom and may still be something in the toilet and the person didn't flush it. Nobody told me I was going to go in the kitchen after cleaning it up for the night. The next morning, the dishes going to be in the sink. Nobody told me that the refrigerator was going to be left open and the ice and melted. Nobody told me all the cabinets was going to still be open. Nobody told me that there were going to be empty water bottles laying beside the bed or there was going to be clothes that was not in the hamper. Nobody told me that my husband was going to go to work and work here and work there and work all these hours and rarely be at home. Nobody told me any of these things. Everybody that I was around seemed to act like they had a perfect marriage, or they didn't have a perfect marriage, but they were going in my household, stay in my household, so they wasn't sharing. I want to say the first real person who started sharing with me about their marriage is my twin, Denise Baker. And she started sharing with me the things that she would go through and all the things that happened, in her life. But she would always tell me, she said, things are going to get better. I call her Twin D, and she calls me Twin Ree. She'll say, things are going to get better. Things are going to get better. And she still encourages me. But in reality, it's not about them getting better. It's about me accepting that I'm married to a whole different set of individuals that wasn't raised the way I was raised, and we're 2 different individuals. So you have to prepare yourself in so many ways. Don't be in such a hurry. Well, I'm 40 years old and I want to go ahead and get married and at least have some children. Well, work on yourself, because guess what? You got 40 years of stuff crammed in you. That's you, and you're set in your ways. And you can't get married to somebody and you already own your own house, you own your own business, and then y'all get married and he living in an apartment and he move in the house, because the first sign of trouble, you're going to be like, well, you can get up out of here because this ain't your house anyway. Yeah, we do that. We do it. We do it. I don't care how much googly eyes and everything that you are going through now. You're in la la land. Everything looks good. Get mad. You're going to snap. You can get up out of here. This is mine. No, really, it's not yours anymore, because you not got married and he moved in and became yours. And if you don't think that you can let go of that when you get ready to marry somebody, you need to sell or rent that property. You need to buy a property together. And I suggest that to people all the time, because we as women, when you're going through the good stages, oh, well, ain't no way I would say that. Yes, you will. You can get up out of my house. And that's my child. Don't talk to my child in that way. These are deal breakers in relationships. Well, he ain't his daddy, and I don't play about my children. We can be together. So you're going to tell me that this grown man can stay in the household with you and this 10-year-old, and he can't say nothing to this little bad boy or this little hard-headed girl? Stay single. There's so many things we need to deal with before we even deal with a relationship with somebody else. I'm telling you guys, I can't tell you enough. You need to deal with a relationship with yourself first. What is your relationship about with you? Now, I'm going to stop and see if you need some more lemon, some sugar, or whatever. But what is your relationship like with you? Be honest. What is your relationship like with you? I'm a light sleeper. My husband gets off at 11:30 at night, and he gets home about 12-something. And when I tell y'all I lay in that bed, even to now, I've done it about 4 times this week, and roll my eyes when he come in there. Now, he think he quiet. He turns on his flashlight. He open his drawer. He going through the drawer. What is you looking for at 1 o'clock in the morning? I'm asleep. I got to get up and clock in at 5 o'clock in the morning. Don't you have enough respect to know that? He really think he's being quiet. I didn't deal with that. I didn't deal with the fact that I'm a light sleeper and that the person I married may not be. He can't just come home and get ready and go to bed. He has to wind down. A lot of times it may be after 2 o'clock in the morning before he turn that TV off in that den and come to bed. And then I'll be laying there and I'll be like, goodness, at least I'm going to get me about an hour or two of sleep. As soon as he lay down, he's snoring so loud. I'm like, oh my gosh. Think about these things. But then guess what? Checkmate, because he came back and said, sister girl, when you are asleep, you snore too. I was like, I do. I do. But if you don't prepare yourself, these are going to be deal breakers. You are going to be paying a divorce attorney over and over and over. You have to prepare yourself. And I ain't telling you prepare yourself by making sure when you see him, you got the perfect hairstyle, you got on your makeup. What y'all say, you done beat your face. You got on the perfect pair of jeans and your nails are done. Look at my nails. I done cut all of it. No polish on my nails or my toes. And my thing is I just took this scarf off my head when I got ready, about 4 minutes to 12 before I got on this call, and did this to my hair and pulled it down so I could be a little presentable to you guys. But I'm not always feeling that I want to get in there and put on makeup now that I'm a wife. See, you do all these things to entice him. And then once you get married, you're like, oh my goodness, who am I married to? I walk through here, you guys, and I have a scarf on my head, and I got on my pajamas, and I have a plate at the top. I have it out. I bet when he look at me, he be like, what the world? But what he see in me is what he's always seen in me. Me being me. I didn't put on no airs. I don't like makeup. I didn't do that to impress. Back then, I used to get my nails done, but not to impress him. I used to get my nails done because in the summer, I would like to have my nails done and my toes done. But now, you would think after all my kids were grown, that I would have more time to do those things. But I realized those weren't things that I liked. I don't care nothing about being at no nail shop. I don't care nothing about being at the nail shop. I don't care nothing about going and getting my hair done. I don't care nothing about having a Coach purse. I don't care about a purse, period. My friends bought me a purse and sent it to me in Amazon about maybe 3 or 4 months ago, because the purse I had was peeling on the handle. Somebody at church gave me a purse one time because one handle came off, so I strategically got all the thread out and cured it with the one handle. That man needs to see now. You may look at me now. I cannot believe Aretha. I don't care about that stuff. I now care about being a better me so that I can be a better. In my relationship, in my marriage, right now, even to this day, I still have sisters, thank God, that are real, that when I'm talking about things, they'll come to me and say, nope, that's not how it is. Nope. But my husband looked at me one day and told me, ladies, he said, I promise you, when I wake up in the morning, I do not think about how I can hurt you for the day. That within itself began to help me. Because before then, I was waking up and I would be ready. So this man said something to me out the way, or he did something, I would be ready to snap. Somebody's phone is not on mute. You make sure that your phone is muted, please. But you have to be in a relationship with yourself. That's the best way I can tell you prepare yourself before. And I'm not saying before marriage. I'm talking about before that relationship even begins. You have to be in a relationship with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to look yourself in the mirror. And I know they said talking to yourself makes it seem like you're crazy. Don't worry about what they say. Talk to yourself. Ask yourself the question that some other people may be afraid to ask you. Ask yourself, is this a deal breaker? And if you don't know the things that go on in marriage, find somebody who's married that's like me, who's transparent, and who will tell you those things. My husband came in here this morning and he said to me, I was sitting in the chair and I had begun to work. And he said, you stay in this chair and you don't get out this chair. He said, you got a serious look on your face this morning. He said, you stay in this chair, you don't get out this chair till you get all that work done. I turned around and looked at him. I said, do the laundry, cook breakfast, vacuum, dust off the ceiling fans, and take the dog out to use the bathroom. And I promise you, I'll stay in this chair. There are so many things, ladies, that we do. My husband went back. He never said a word. I got up to go get some water, and he was laying back on the bed, thumbing through his phone. No breakfast. The dog still in the crate, not going out to use the restroom. No vacuum, no ceiling fans dust, and the clothes is in the room behind me, still in the basket. But his expectation is still for me to do these things, even though he was teasing me about staying in the chair. You can say to yourselves, when you're preparing yourself, would you like somebody to do your laundry? Or are you so particular about certain things you don't want them to do it? They probably don't want to do it because they don't want to see you snap. What about mopping your floors and sweeping and cleaning your house? Because, you know, we'll be looking at him and he might be watching ball game and in your mind you'll be like, this don't make no sense because he can get up and help me clean up this house. Well, I used to say it about Brother Cleveland. I came home from work, getting ready. I think I was getting ready to go to Raleigh for a speaking engagement. Brother Cleveland was so excited. He had swept up and vacuumed and he had mopped. And when I put my key in the door, I smelled pine sol. And when I smelled pine sol, I said, now who's been in the house and did something with pine sol? And I walked in the bathroom where the pine sol was, and I felt like half the bottle was gone. I don't know how much was in there. And I said, now what the world? So as I was coming back to the front, he was coming in, and now when I tell y'all excited and everything, and I said, did you use some pine sol? He said, yes. He says, I mopped up everything, swept up everything, so when we get back in town, he said, you don't have to worry about doing anything. I looked at that man with probably a crazy look, and I said, listen, first and foremost, I don't even mop with my pine sol. Second, did you use a half a bottle? I said, you're going to buy me some more pine sol. Do you know that pine sol is $3.79? He ain't mopped since, and we done bought a house and moved to a whole nother location. So be honest with yourself. Before you get in a relationship, do you really want somebody else to help you with things in the house? Do you really want somebody else to give you advice about things? Do you really want a mate to cook for you, to clean for you, to wash your clothes? We should be able to do things together. But do you really? I'm talking about being honest. I can't stress that enough. Stop lying to yourselves, ladies. Because you lie yourself into a relationship, then you lie yourself into a marriage. You put all your focus in the wedding, and then a week later, you're calling your girlfriend, cussing and snapping and rolling your neck. And I don't know who he think I am, and I don't know how he done got this twisted, and I don't know what done happened. But this joker done changed. We ain't been married but a month, and he done changed. He didn't change. You never just got a chance of knowing. You jump straight into an emotional connection with him, with your cologne, just your perfume on, and your lashes, and your lips popping, and your jeans rocking. You went straight to emotional relationship with him. Even if you didn't have sex with him physically, you done had it with him mentally, and he done had it with you. Instead of doing like I suggested, it is still not too late. When y'all plan to do a date, say, I'll meet you there. And he said, oh, I'll pick you up. I said, no, that's okay. Because you're trying to get to know each other intellectually. You need to know. Ask him about his credit. Ask him, do he have a driver's license? Oh, that's embarrassing, Aretha. I'm not going to ask somebody got a driver's license. All right, they got a state ID and you don't know nothing about it. Until you find out he got pulled over driving the car and y'all got a $500 ticket. And you say, I thought you had a license. He said, I know you thought that you. He never asked. I got a state ID. Well, why was you driving? Well, I had to get to work. Well, why did you not have a driver's license? Well, when I was 19 years old, I got 20 tickets and was in 10 accidents and they took them. And I ain't never go back and try to get them. Oh, that's reality. Then you get ready to buy a house, you find out his credit score 400. You find out he got collections and he got this and he got child support and he got alimony, and now you're looking crazy. If you get to know people intellectually, you can find out these things and you can share information. I could share with Brother Cleveland that I've been through a bankruptcy. I could share with Brother Cleveland that I've been married 4 times. I could share with Brother Cleveland when I first met him that I had 4 children that were adults. I was able to share with him things of intellectual, but there were still things that I didn't do because I didn't value myself. You can, for anybody who's under the sound of my voice today, if you hang up and choose not to value yourself, that's on you because you heard it directly from a person who didn't value themselves. If you choose not to talk to yourself and prepare yourself for a relationship with yourself first, that's on you because you heard it from me first. If you choose to be naive but think that you're going to get married and be like Cinderella, then you need to just close that book. You need to just stay in where you're at by yourself because you're fooling yourself. There are going to be good days. There are going to be bad days. Now, I laid down last night about 10-something, and I kissed on my little he's 7-month-old grandbaby. They've been spending the night over here all week. And I went and I got in the bed, and I must have been really tired because I don't even recall when Brother Cleveland came home. But about 3-something this morning, I heard the TV in the den. Well, I used to get mad and start kicking the covers. You ever seen a 58-year-old woman throw a tantrum? Me. Kicking the covers like I was 2 years old and throwing my hands and saying, I will turn it off. He didn't turn it off. I didn't say it out loud either, where I would normally have said it out loud. I didn't say it out loud, but I thought it to myself. But that's the way of the world. And then I woke up this morning, you guys. I said I was going to lay in the bed till 11 o'clock. I was going to get ready for this call. But I got up and I said, oh, I forgot that we had to work today. And I had a face on my phone that I wasn't familiar to. And when I looked at it, it had a message from a young lady that I'm not familiar with. I'm familiar with her grandmother, and I'm familiar with her sister, but I'm not that familiar with her. Now, wasn't expecting this. That's why I say life is like a box of chocolates. You really don't know what you're going to get. Her message says to me, hi, this is Dot. Can you give me a call? I have some information about your son's death. It's been 9 years that my son has been dead. All of a sudden, this person out the blue sends me this. Did I know I was going to wake up to this? Mm-hmm. So you know what I did? I prayed. Now, I call it a Hannah prayer when you're praying internally. You're not praying out loud. I know some people call it a Hannah prayer when you're praying for a child. I ain't praying for no children. I got 4 children, 3 living, and 12 grandchildren. I got enough children. I got enough to give each one of y'all one to borrow for a day or two, but you got to give them back. But I said a Hannah prayer of silence. And I asked God, if this is something that I need to do to contact this person, he direct me. I said, first and foremost, my week started off with two of my children going through some chaotic stuff, and then another one of my child going through something. I said, and say, you got the audacity to try to start my Saturday with that? God, please. I said, you didn't let it get too late now. I go to God. I talk to my Father. Even on the days that I may react first, I'm thankful that I come back because I got you guys to encourage me and pull me back. And I said, whoop, Lord, forgive me. And I keep it moving. Prepare a relationship with yourself before you go into preparing a relationship. I ain't talking about a marriage with somebody else. Once you go through these things and you ask yourself, and you can honestly say, I want to move forward with a relationship. Now, ladies, I can tell you this because I don't like cooking. I do not like cooking. I'm a very light eater. You can give me some 5-count kids meal from Chick-fil-A 7 days a week, and I'm fine with it. I'm going to tell y'all a secret, and y'all can go and tell it. There have been some Sundays that I have left home, and I've gone to Zaxby's and got me a kids meal and sat in the parking lot and ate it and put it in the trash and come home. And my husband be sitting here, and I know he'd be looking like, is she going to cook? And I'm sitting there, I'm full. I done had my kids' meal. And I didn't want to cook. And finally, he'll get up and he'll fix him something to eat. Now, y'all may say, now, why you didn't just get up and fix something to eat? I'm tired. I work just like he do. Now, I'm not telling y'all this is right, but y'all want to know the truth. I'm tired. Let him cook sometimes. But I be hungry too, so I just went on down to the Zaxby's and got me a kid's meal, and I just ate it and put it in the garbage can. You know. So I knew. So I have those days like that, I have to come back and be like, girl, you're going to have to do better than that. So I started saying, can you fix something to eat today? I clocked out yesterday, 1 week. I had 84 hours for 1 week. But all the laundry was done except for what they put in the basket last night. Because all 3 bathrooms was clean. Floors was swept back in. I didn't mop. I'm tired. So you have to have an understanding of that. Because that man, a lot of times, go to the understanding of, when I get married, my wife is going to do the cooking, she's going to do the cleaning, she's going to, do the laundry, she's going to keep everything in order. Plus, she's going to make sure she takes care of me, she's going to take care of the children, and she's going to have a job too. That's a lot. But again, these are discussions that you can't have in the movies while you all shoulder to shoulder and holding hands. But if you sit at Starbucks looking across at each other, you can have this. Do you expect for me to cook every day? Are you expecting for me to keep the house clean every day? And hold down a full-time job? And take care of 4 children? 3 children? How many children do you want anyway? You have to ask these questions. I have a child already. Do you feel that you should discipline my child? Do I feel that you should discipline my child? Are my scissors going to be missing out the top drawer? So let me tell y'all how I fixed that, because it's sad to be ready to be divorced about it because the scissors gone out the top drawer in the kitchen. I went to Walmart and I bought 20 pair of scissors. And I put a pair of scissors in every drawer in every room, and I got extra. Because otherwise, I was going to be divorce this man over a pair of scissors. But I wasn't being honest with myself. But I do now. I say, is that a deal breaker? When I walk in my bedroom and his side of the bed is not made up, I said, is that a deal breaker? No, it's not. When I listen at my friend, who I'm very close with, have to deal with the fact that she lost her husband after 32 years, that helps me understand and know that a lot of things that's gone through my mind is not a deal breaker. I have a couple of sisters who say, girl, you don't care what you tell, you'll tell it all. How can I help you if I don't tell it all? How can I walk out of this house? Because if y'all see Brother Cleveland, our pictures on Facebook, we on vacation, our wedding pictures, our engagement pictures. I've had many people come to me and say, do we have a brother? I want a husband just like your husband. No, you don't. And you don't want a wife just like, you want to tell your brothers and your sons, they want a wife just like me. You want what God has designed. And you want truthful and honesty. You want your yeses to be yeses and your no's to be no's. That's how you prepare for a relationship in marriage. And you want to find somebody who's truthful You get ready to do a book report, you don't just write something on a piece of paper. You do research. Do research, ladies. Find you some older women who are truthful and, and ask them, what is their day like? I'll call my daughter Agnes in a minute and I say, okay, my marriage chronicles, this is what I'm going through today. This is what I'm dealing with today. And it don't always have to be bad. But I just share with her my day. This is how I started. You know, I wake up in the morning after I realize God has given me life, and I go straight into prayer. And then after I go into prayer, I get up and I read my Bible. And after I read my Bible, I open the front door and go out. It's about 5:30 in the morning. I let the dog out and I sat on the porch and I'm just praising and thanking God that he gave me another day. And I don't be like, I don't know, politically correct, y'all. This is how I do things. I should have been on Broadway. I'll go out on the porch and I'm going to stand up. Y'all going to see my pajama bottoms because I put on a shirt, but y'all going to still see my pajama bottoms because we being real today. I'll get up and I'll stand on the porch. Oh, y'all can't see it. Just see my shirt. But you can't see my head, but you see me. And I'd be like, oh, you did it again. Oh, my goodness. Boy, you gave me another day to live. Thank you, God. And I'd be so excited. Tears be falling down my face. And then I'll put it on here and I said, oh, what you want me to do today, though? Tell me what you want me to do. Because if I don't ask you that, I'm going to go in there and start doing what I want to do. And that may be against what you want me to do. But I just want to say thank you. And I mean, I'd be a whole dramatic in a movie scene on my front porch at 5:30 in the morning. Then I come in and I come back here where I am now and I clock in. And well, let's take that back because a lot of times this is before 5:30 because I get on the 5:30 call. And I listen at the 5:30 call as I'm sitting here running reports and I'm working. And then about, I want to say maybe about 6:30 because I put my boiler for my grits, my skillet for my sausage or my bacon, my skillet for my eggs on the counter, but I don't take the food out. So maybe about 6:30 I go in the kitchen while I'm listening to the 6:30 call and I crack my eggs and I measure out my grits. I put my water in the boiler and put the top on it. I put my meat in the skillet, whatever I'm gonna cook, and I put my top on it and I lay my plates out. I get my butter and syrup or whatever I'm gonna need to go with it, and I set everything out. And then I come back and I just start back working. And then about 7, maybe about 2 minutes to 7, the alarm clock is going to go off in Braylon's room. I go, I turn the water on up under the boiler for the grits. I come back and I turn the water on in the shower because our hot water heater is in the basement, so it takes a little bit longer. So I have that prepared and ready. And I'm constantly moving. Then I go back and I take a bath for the clothes. I put them in the washer. So I'm constantly moving. Sometimes you'll feel like, am I a slave? Am I a maid? But you have to be honest with yourself. Is this what you want to do? Do you want to do 100 things and be the first one to get up out the bed and the last one to go to sleep? Do you want the family to be sitting around and they doing their own thing while you're doing things of necessity that has to be done? You have to ask yourself these things. Because if not, you're going to be divorced. You're going to be angry. You're going to be an angry woman, an agitated woman, a frustrated woman, if you're not honest with yourself. So, Miss Kim, I've given you my day. I've given you guys my day. I've given you all the key points I can give you is to value yourself, be honest with yourself, have a conversation with yourself, find out what's your deal breaker, and then when you're ready to move on to beginning that relationship, to making sure that you do an intellectual relationship, not an emotional one. All of that's going to come later, but get to know your mate. I had a friend, she died a few years ago. She was actually from Memphis, Tennessee. Her name was Angela. And when we got married, she was married to a guy that was real good friends with my husband. And I got a chance to meet them and know them. And Angela would call me every day with something going on in her marriage. She found out her husband didn't have a license. She found out that her husband wasn't paying the bills. They turned the water off and the lights, and he turned it back on from the meters. She never knew this until the government knocked on the door and says, we're here because this was turned off by the authorities. It's been turned back on. She started a business, and he took her starter checks, and he went to Home Depot and Lowe's, and he had just used them up on her business. So my thing is, but these are questions that she never asked. She never knew that he had a lot of back child support. She never knew any of these things because she went straight into emotional connection instead of intellectual connection. But see, a lot of times the reason we don't want to do intellectual because, ooh, he is 6'2", he is fine. And if I start talking about these things, I may run him off. That's the time to run him off. Before you get into an emotional connection with him, that is the time to run him off. And so, or to run your own self off, because it's the most harshest thing. And then stop putting all that time to preparing for the wedding and prepare for the marriage. Stop getting married and spend all these thousands of dollars for this wedding, and then 1 month later talking about he changed. No, he's the same as he was before you married. You just never get a chance to meet him and know him and intellectually. You're not going to learn everything. I did not realize how jealous my husband was, because when we started dating, we did everything together. He likes to bowl, I like to bowl. He likes to shoot pool, I like to shoot pool. I mean, everything we did together. And then the first couple of years, we did all that stuff together. But then all of a sudden, I had a grown daughter who would sometimes call me and say, Mom, can we go to the mall together? And I was like, sure. And then I would call him and say, hey, when you get home, I won't be here. I'm going to go to the mall with B. And he would be like, oh, so you don't want me to go? And I'm like, no, I want to spend time with my daughter. Oh, okay. So it's like that now. You mean it's like that? You know I had a grown daughter when you met me. I never even thought to discuss these kind of things. All I know is, and I asked him, you don't have no friends? Well, I had some when I met you, but since you did the same things I did, I just stopped hanging with them. I'm like, well, what made you do that? We don't always need to always be together. But had I took time to get to know him intellectually, maybe I'd have found that out, maybe I wouldn't have. But I'd had a better chance. But after 13 years of ups and downs, of cussing, mean, because he don't cuss, cussing and fussing, going in, going off, doing the most, we're still together. And guess what? I don't curse. He said something to me this morning, and I looked at him, and I came in and sat down. He says, look at you. You didn't even say anything. I said to myself, oh, I said something, but I said it to God. I'm glad that he's my husband. I thank God that we continue to strive moving forward. Even on the days we mad, I threatened not to cook for him, clean for him. And that's been a while ago about some of that stuff. But it might have been just maybe 6 or 7 months ago that I said I wasn't going to cook for him. It was back in December. I remember when it was. I said, I bet you he'll eat some blueberry checks in the morning. And one of the sisters said to me, no, ma'am. He's going to eat bacon or sausage. He's going to have grits and eggs and biscuits just like he do every other morning. And she said, you're going to fix it. And she didn't take any other things. And the next morning, she's right. And that's what I did. See, you need those kind of accountability partners in your life. You don't need somebody who's going to tell you, I don't blame you, girl, because if he did that to me, I wouldn't cook one for a week. Value yourself, prepare yourself, be honest with yourself, examine yourself, have a conversation with yourself, then move forward to have an intellectual relationship. Ask all the questions, everything you can think of, and find you a woman who is married. And ask. And I'm going to say this, and some of y'all may disagree with it, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's how I feel. The woman doesn't always have to be a Christian woman. I have a woman in my life who's Christian, and I have a woman in my life who's not. Because I still want to know how the marriages go. What are the things that you deal with? What things that happen? Because Christianity doesn't play a part in people's habits and what they do. But what I do is when I'm talking to the Christian woman, the woman who believes in God, because everybody who is a Christian like I was doesn't exemplify that they believe in what God says. Some of us are professional worshipers. I know I was. I ain't going to talk about y'all. It was just hitting the time clock showing up at worship service. Day after day, year after year, moving forward until you finally realize you're not sure God, and God probably never knew you. It's the bottom line. It was my life. So therefore, now And I may ask, because I may be talking to somebody who may not have followed the plan of salvation, who may be in the Baptist church, the Methodist church, but guess what? They're married to a man. And I may just say, hey, share what a day is like for me. What are some of the issues that you deal with? How do you handle them? Then I may ask somebody who is a follower of Christ. And guess what? I am too. But in my past, you might have caught me on the wrong day, and I might have told you to cuss him out and been right sitting on the front pew at Church of Christ that Sunday. I've come too, and the lady asked me, "Why are you smiling?" I said, "I don't feel like being bothered today." And I said we sat on the third row, gracefully, and he was walking around, and he was smiling, I was sitting down. And she says, "What's the matter?" I said, "I don't know about it." So when she come back, I said I don't want to talk about it. He kept on, and next thing I know, I said something, and he said, "I can't believe you just said that. I can't believe you keep asking me." I tell you, I won't talk about it. But what it was is he would say something to me on the way to worship. You be all up in that church hugging on them. You don't hug on me like that. Because, some churches you go to, you hug. Okay. I was mad that first Sunday, but I got you that next Sunday. We walked in the door. He gets out. Now, he been said all that crazy stuff on the way. He gets out with his suit on, and he walked and he smiled. He opened the door for me. So this particular Sunday, rest his soul, Mike Woods was at the door, and he was to hug me. I said, Pastor said I'll be over here hugging on all y'all niggas, and I don't hug on him like that. And I kept walking. Got on up to some of the more brothers. I said, don't hug me. Pastor said I'll be over here. And then I got to Brother Marshall, and I know Pastor was behind me, probably if I could hear her in the head. But I did. But from that point on, he started saying crazy stuff to me. I said, don't be over here grinning from these brothers' faces and then feeling the way you feel. You hugging on people too, but that's what we do when we walk in here. All right, Kim, my cup is empty and y'all saw it have overflowed.
Yes, my cup has overflowed for sure. And I am so incredibly grateful for you just pouring out as you have. What a blessing. What a blessing to have the transparency and to have truly the real conversation to think, is that what I want to be up to with my life? So now, you ladies, we're going to actually go ahead and stop the recording, but we're going to continue. Please come off of mute to give your comments or questions. Thank you so much, Sister Cleveland.